Okay, so today we're replacing the window regulator on a Skoda Superb. Pull that little microphone plastic out. In behind there's a couple of T20 Torques. Lift off this trim, just gently prise it up, disconnect the wiring harness. There's 2 screws in behind, T30s I believe. Take those out with a magnet if you're having trouble getting them out. Just pull the door card gently away from the door and lift it out of the channel at the top of the door. Undo your puddle light, speaker wires, take the inner door handle release cable off. It's all fairly self-explanatory. Balance it on your knee whilst you're doing that. Once you've got all that disconnected, you can take the door card away. Window regulator sits inside the door carcass. You've got to bring those wires out of the way, disconnect the door module. Make sure you push that little tab in before you lift the puce coloured lever up. Pull that little red tab out, same again. They're just little locking pins to stop these connectors coming loose accidentally. Pull these little blank plugs out and you'll be able to access the pins that locate the window into the window regulator. This regulator is snapped, so I can move the window up and down fairly easily by hand. Bring it down so you can look through the hole and see the white plastic pins. And knock those out. You do it gently. You probably have to use a hammer and a punch, but you've got to do that very gently so you don't smash the window. Once you've got them out, lift your window back up into the channel and just secure it with a bit of tape.
Go now. Got a new one on the way, anywhere but here. On the album they say at one is more passionate. It'd be really interesting to hear what they do next.
Now we're going to remove the series of bolts holding the regulator panel in against the door carcass. I think there's 6 of them. You need to unhook the wiring harness a little bit more than I have there. Later on I take it all the way out. There's 4 bolts holding the guide channels in. I'm pointing to all the holes there because I couldn't remember which ones the holes are in. They've been covered over with tape. I did this window regulator about 3 years ago. It goes to show how regularly they snap. It's not a great setup. Once you've got those bolts out, you need to fold up the window regulator, push it into the carcass and then slide it back and forth until you can wiggle it out. It's a 2-handed job really. And I'm trying to manage here with one hand and a phone, so it's probably looking harder than it actually is. Just be careful. It's not so bad when it's coming out. When you're putting the new one in, you don't want to damage the rubber seal on the the new window regulator. Just be careful with your wiring harness. Remember to pick out the little barrel shaped window locators. There's 2 parts to each one, so you're looking for 4 bits altogether. Sometimes they can be a little bit of a mission to find them, but they'll be in there somewhere. And there's what's happened. The cable's got rusty and snapped. When I fit these new regulators, by the way, I would also recommend you use VW. Just before you fit them, spray them with grease to give them a bit of a better chance at life. Drop your window down. And we're now going to put in the little round barrel shaped pegs that hold it into the locator. So I've put a hammer under there just to hold it in place, hold the window in place. Push them halfway so you've got half sticking out the inside of the window, half sticking out the outside. Push them in place, then put the center, which secures it in place. Put that through the center, and then you'll squeeze it up with a pair of pliers. Be careful when you're doing this, you've got to be gentle with that window. If you really were struggling for access, you could take the door speaker off, but they're riveted on, so I would advise against it. I've got massive hands, so I can get mine in there. You'll be able to get yours in there. So that's your pegs in place. Stick your window back into the top of the door. So a bit of silicone spray on my wheels, cables, anything I can see basically. Just give this thing a little bit better lubrication, eliminate the chance of any squeaks, and try and give it a bit of a longer life. Remove the motor off the old shell, 3 screws, and then put that back onto the new one. There's a nylon spline on the inside of the motor, which lines up with the nylon spline drive on the new regulator. It can be a little bit awkward to line the splines up as you're going in on the pegs. Make sure you do line them up and that motor slots into the splines. You might want to move the cables just to turn the drum a little bit to get them to line up. Make sure you do that and don't just screw it together and break your drive. The door control unit, that just slots into place, clips itself in. Are they? Got our regulator and our screws in place. I've taped those holes up again because you get water dribbling in there else, rainwater. And then you're going to drop the window regulator, drop the window down into the regulator, and then you've got to give it a little bang with the palm of your hand just to push those pins down into place. Alternatively, you could wind the window regulator up and use the window regulator to push it in place. I prefer to tap them down with my hand, and you can hear them and feel it quite clearly when it snaps into place. Reconnecting now your door module. Nice and gentle with these, you don't want to break any of the fasteners. Put your plastic blanking plugs in. Again, this just stops water running down the inside of the door carcass, coming in around the back of your door card and filling your footwell up with water. Before you put your door card on, just check everything's working. Remember to reset your memory, so go all the way down, double click, all the way up, double click. Catch your inner release cable. Always worthwhile taking your time on this bit, making sure you got all the connectors back in their correct places. And then before you do button it up, just operate your door release. You don't want to find out that you forgot to connect the cable when you've just shut the door. Finally, give it a wipe down with some glass cleaner. Just get all your grubby fingerprints off it.